Hello, and thank you for tuning into Small Talk. I'm your host, Sharon, and today we'll be discussing domestic violence. Domestic violence is a willful intimidation, physical assault, battery, sexual assault, and other abusive behaviors as part of a systematic pattern of power and control perpetuated by one intimate partner against another. We're back with Laure Harris, and we are going to pick up, we were very intrigued with what you're saying about the court. So can we pick up right where we left off?
Yeah, and I want to cover a few more things. So it's not only the court process. Now we're here for the final hearing. Okay. This is where the lawyer, which was appointed, usually a volunteer, will be representing the victim, and the batterer will usually come in with their attorney. Think that control wheel, all right? The judge will hear the case. You will hear everything. The judge will make a decision. Will it be granted or it's not granted? If it's granted, the judge can issue a final protective order for up until 2 years.
Okay.
All right? Or it can be adjusted. And it will deal again, no further violence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Can order treatment, batterer intervention.
Can order treatment for, this is where the court advocacy,
the lawyer.
The co-facilitator.
Yes.
That's the treatment? That's what I'm...
Well, that's where you can be ordered. Let me work in your case. You know this. What has happened, once that judge has entered that order and says, you are ordered into batterer intervention, maybe to follow the recommendations of a mental health and substance abuse evaluation.
Oh.
Okay? One of the things I want to get clear, a lot of people say, hey, he has an alcohol problem. It caused, no. It is an issue of it. It doesn't cause DV.
Okay.
There's a lot of drunks out of there, a lot of stuff. They don't beat and abuse their spouses.
Okay.
Okay. But we have great, again, think about that synergy.
Right.
We have the Community Service Board. We have a compliance officer through our unit who will monitor your treatment. All right. And now what's exciting, you got to control me. All right. And in the last almost a year and a half, we have a new order that says, when this happens, you must surrender your guns. And your weapon. Oh, if I want to intimidate you, see, I remember these days. I'm older than dirt, as I say. In the old days, I couldn't purchase guns.
Right.
But I could have them. So if I wanted to intimidate you, I clean my gun out.
Oh my God.
One of many.
That's the way of abuse.
Now you got to surrender. And here, that's my shout out to the sheriffs again. We've developed a wonderful program through a strategic plan of sheriffs, the police department, the Domestic Violence Action Center, court services, and I know I'm leaving somebody out, to come up with a plan of how do we work out the surrendering of those guns.
Right.
Because the code says I can surrender those guns to any law enforcement agency or to a third party.
So that means your buddy, your friend.
Now you can see, and we're working, getting ready to work on that.
Okay.
You see, we're always changing, a good change when it comes to DV.
Right.
And as it came in front of our DVPPCC, our policy, that, hey, something's wrong here.
Right, this is a loophole, right?
So I could give my guns to my brother Freddie, my aunt, my godmother, my mother. Suppose I live in the same house.
You have access to them.
There you go. And so now we're starting to look at that. And now we've formed a whole new strategy of a committee. I'm part of it, and numerous other people. We're now looking at that, and that's on the directives of looking at legislative changes.
Oh, that's
now,
awesome.
What we have to, where there's a victim, there's a batterer.
Right.
And we got to talk about that.
We have to talk about that.
Because we have to believe in change. All right?
But do you think that we really can make a change when it's a batterer? Can a batterer not be a batterer anymore?
Yes.
Because I know some don't want to batter.
But that's like anything else. Adult probation used to be under me. Now it's a separate unit called Community Correction. Mike DeLoach is head of that.
Oh, yes.
They have over 600 people on probation dealing with this issue. They're ordered into treatment, and now we no longer say anger management.
Okay.
We say batterer intervention, because anger management, I can get angry with you, scrape my car. Batterer intervention deals with the issue of DV and battering. And there are a number of programs in Fairfax County. We work very much in partnership with adult community corrections, with court services, the judicial, our legal part, and again, our advocates to work on this. And yes, I believe in treatment. If I don't believe in treatment, how can I provide treatment?
This is true.
All right? But let me tell you how it's different. Here in Fairfax County, it's an 18-week program.
Right.
In California, it's a year. In some places, it's 2 years.
Really?
You want your treatment. Okay?
And this is court mandated.
Yes.
You have to do this for this amount of time.
You and the judge, when you are found guilty, now we've left the civil.
Right.
Now we're going to the criminal side. That's where a criminal complaint has been filed against you dealing with family abuse or family assault. And
so now, do you get a record from this also?
Oh, there are two types of records. Okay, there's a court record and there's a police record. If you follow through, depending on what the judge writes in, if you complete that treatment, no further violence, it may get dismissed.
Okay.
May, all right? It all depends on the batterer, and that treatment is serious. And one of the issues I need to bring up, and this is not only for the victim and batterer, we have over almost half of our population is non-English speaking.
Right, and that was the thing that was exciting because you had all these different languages.
Exactly, but can we use more services in these? Yes. So if I got somebody out there who speaks another language who wants to volunteer as an interpreter.
Please come in and volunteer because you need them.
There you go. So to return to that batterer, think about over 600 men and women are on probation for abuse, physical abuse, all right? Think about that. We're talking about almost several thousand misdemeanors are filed with our court every year. Think about the role of the probation officer who works with that batterer, the heavy responsibility they have. And can I tell you, those probation officers, they're committed to this. These are folks, I've seen them they use motivational interviewing, and they're using different types of assessment tools. We even now have one of our local universities helping us to develop another tool to evaluate batterers and where we need to be working with them.
Wow.
And yet, we still realize, remember that victim we never give credit to or acknowledge the children. Now we're starting to do it.
Because the trauma is...
There you go. You see, we've got to, and in fact, in the Batterer Intervention program, that's a part of the program.
Right.
To start to talk about what effect have you had on the family.
Child.
Okay? Then you've got other issues going on. Then I got the civil issues of custody, visitation, and support. And of course,
even though I'm a batterer, I still have rights to my child.
Of course you do. And let me tell you the thing about children. Again, I hate to tell you, I've been working since, let's see, it was over 50 years. All right, this is for real. And let me tell you, children are unbelievable. That's why I love them. They can see you battering their parent. And do you know they still love them? They want to see them. So what did Fairfax County do? I know people are tired of me talking about Fairfax County, but I'm a proud employee. We developed the Supervised Visitation and Exchange Program. Now, let me tell you, it was first funded by the county, and there were no programs in this area, all right? Still, if I went through the East Coast, I can probably pull up 20 programs.
Wow.
But then we got a grant from the federal government.
Okay.
1 of 10, okay? I said 1 of 10, we were a model program. And the federal government helped us bring resources. And this is when my shout out to the Board of Supervisors. They love this program. And if you want to see it's a great program to volunteer, where we work with batterers who have been ordered, if you want to see your child. Well, of course, I'm going to talk, the woman is a victim. That child may not want to see me anymore. I assaulted that parent in front of that child's eye.
Right.
Okay? And yet it's like yin and yang. They love their father.
Right.
Okay? They may even, and many times the children are the victims too. Right. Because when they take out that physical assault, they'll pick on a child.
Right.
Okay? Or sometimes the child may even identify with the batterer, power and control.
Yep.
And batter the victim. All right? And so as a result, we have a special program at the old courthouse. And remember, I've been doing this work a long time. And when I feel a little gray or sometimes like things ain't working right, I go to this program.
Really?
It's a big child place. It has all sorts of toys and things on the wall and the greatest staff. Think about, I've got to take this child. I've got to persuade this mother. Let me have your child. I'll monitor the visitation. You know what? How that feels? I've been battered and bruised, and now the court says a supervised visitation has got to be. In the beginning, it's no, I'm not going through that.
My child's not going.
Exactly.
I'm not. He beat me. He might beat my child. My child's not going.
And the child picks up on the parent too. And these wonderful workers will do these complex intakes and get this information, and they even interview the child.
So the child has a say too.
Oh, and we'll get a pre-visit. And why I love this place because I'm nothing but a big child.
Right.
All right. And it's a fun place when you walk in the door. And you know what? They got some good snacks there too.
Oh.
And they got people like Mr. Laurie and Mr. Aaron and Mr. Rick. And these kids will hold on to their hand just like this with a grip. But then they run down the hallway. I've seen the child where we have to beg the child come out of the car. I've seen it. Oh. Because they've been so traumatized.
Right, because they've seen all this violence.
And then in time, you watch them play a game with their dad or a Nintendo thing back and forth.
Right.
And that's another place you want to volunteer toys, or maybe you want to send us some gift certificates so we can get some toys and games. I have to tell you, every Christmas, a couple of churches, they do these baskets of turkeys and hams and gifts. I've seen the whole floor be covered. And these children, they may never have gotten a toy. All right. Wow. I had one child, and someday I'm going to bring it to my office. She was convinced by the abusive parent. Because she didn't send a note to Santa Claus, she never got a Christmas.
Oh.
Staff got together and we got Sue Burcheri, who's head of our volunteer, and I don't know where she finds all these gifts. And this child got a Christmas. She lived in a hotel, a motel, with a beautiful note written that Santa Claus loved her. You see, that's what supervised visitation, that's what court services, that's what domestic violence action center is about. Okay? Awesome. That's that total person. It's more than I'm a victim or a survivor.
Right.
I gotta make it. I gotta have clothing. I need food. And if somebody needs special food, maybe because of their faith, we have different agencies like Faith that deals with the Muslim community. In fact, I'm going to a dinner tonight where they're celebrating and dealing with the issue of DV. You see, we got everybody involved.
Right, and everybody's covered in this in Fairfax County. You're actually right, because I lived in other counties, and this county really, I was very surprised by all of the services that they offer and the support that they have. And it runs really not only by the county workers, but also the volunteers. That was a big piece.
We do not do county only. We use a holistic approach. It's nonprofit. It's people in the community and the government. The government, Fairfax County learned a long time ago, we can't do it alone.
This is too big. This is too much.
No, and we can't do it because we have to be sensitive to the needs of the people, the culture and the language.
Right.
That's what's so exciting. And I don't want people to get too comfortable and say, oh, this is Fairfax County, we don't need. Oh no, we got a lot. We need more shelters. Shelter beds, we don't have enough, okay?
Right.
We need more resources, long-term training, employment.
Right.
And please don't only think about the victim, the batterer.
Right, the batterer has to live too and has to go on.
And how can I support them in treatment if we don't say we believe in you?
Right, because that's part of it. That's
Once
part of
I
the
get
treatment.
that title, I could lose my job and other things. So that's why we got to believe. We've got to look at new programs of parenting.
Right.
Imagine how it must feel. I've been identified as a batterer. I love my children. I've been identified as a batterer. I've got to learn I'm responsible for a family. How do I parent after I have been identified as a batterer? Mostly you'll see there's been a past history of it.
Right.
Oh, I was at a meeting yesterday and I told, do you know most people on death row, they came from families where there was DV?
No, I didn't realize that.
Oh, I could just pull out the stats, all right? So that's why we've got to reach out to the whole community. Yes, the victim, but the batterer needs treatment.
And that's what I like about Fairfax County is
Yeah.
because you guys look at both the victim as well as the batterer.
They need services too. They may need jobs. They may need resources such as someone who's going to pay for the treatment.
Right.
Okay.
Does the judge when they give you the mandate to go to certain treatments, are you responsible as the batterer to pay, or is it on a slide scale? Is it based on your schedule?
Some have sliding scales, some who don't. Some will even trade off. I know of one Batterer Intervention program in Fairfax, they'll trade off you volunteering. But what happens, and remember, a large population are non-English speaking. Right. A lot of them, they don't have the PhDs, they're not the engineers.
Right.
They're working out in the street, doing construction work.
Right.
All right, those bennies don't come with that. What do I do? And that's what that probation officer and people with the Batterer Intervention program.
So they receive almost like the same type of support as the victim.
Somewhat, not as we need to get more services.
Okay, but we're working in that direction to actually get more services.
Our judges are very interested in, and our probation officers, they go out and find this and work with the Batterer Intervention programs. That's why we now are looking at, and we have a couple of, but we're now looking at a new model of parenting after you batter. That's a specialized. How do we work with those? And I want to tell you, men and women.
Men and women.
Men and women, okay? We need a specialized program. How do you batter after that? How do I give confidence in that batterer that get that yoke off of me?
Right.
Okay? Believe in me.
Right. That's
okay. So that's why I need some volunteers and men to work with these men.
Right, because it's better when you have men working with the men and women working with the women.
I want it, all right? I want who are different cultures, who believe and change, who can believe, yes, I made a mistake, but I can improve. And then I got another investment to understand these children. You know, children who see violence, a lot of them will emulate that violence.
This is true.
I want you to look, again, I can give you a lot of stats. There's a report done by the school every year or every 2 years. Do you know one of the growing areas? Teen dating violence.
I was so surprised to hear about that.
When I was a line PO, I started off in Juvenile.
Okay.
I had a young lady on my caseload. Her boyfriend beat the slop out of her. And when I asked her why, she said, he beats me because he loves me.
Oh,
now, this is a teenager. And we have now identified other kids, other juveniles will say, yeah, I know someone who's in a dating relationship that is abusive. We got to get in there. And through the Office of Women, I know I'm not going to say of Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence, they have some staff who goes into the school, but not enough to get this word out, to teach them. This is not a joke.
This is real.
This is a growing problem. So again, we have needs for more services. Yes, we're Fairfax County, but we don't have enough.
Right.
We've got to deal with more services for Batterer Intervention that are dealing with our bilingual population.
Right.
And I'm glad they're starting to identify our children exposed to this. But then what are we going to do about the treatment? How are we going to deal with it? I always say for those men and women on probation, they have that 2.3 children. I've always wanted to see that 0.3 child.
Right. Where did that come from?
How are we going to do that?
Right.
And what about the cases that get dropped? I can't force you to go to court, but you need to understand the long-term effects on the children. These are all issues, but what I'm proud about, Fairfax County is not putting their head under the sand.
They're addressing them.
They're addressing J&D, our court, they're a leader. Our Domestic Violence Action Center is a leader. DFS is a leader. The police department and sheriff, I could just go down the list. They are committed. I know it. The energy. If you think I'm kind of a little caffeinated, you ought to see when we all get together.
I've been in a room with a whole bunch of y'all.
Our goal is for DV to stop.
Right.
And it won't stop in a moment. And also to acknowledge we've got some long-term needs. And I'm asking anybody who's listening to this program, put out the word. There's something for you to do. A church, maybe you want to look at a supervised visitation program. We only got one.
Right.
You know where our greatest number of clients come from? Route 1. Imagine taking 2 buses, or maybe a bus to a train to a bus to get to the supervised visitation program. Okay? You can donate toys. You can go out there and hold a walk or something, and money for needs Pampers, okay? Or you might have people in your church who are DV victims, but we're not looking that way.
Right.
Ask our congregation, what can you do? Should we be looking for additional emergency shelters and housing? Okay. Right. Fairfax County has a whole housing committee, and they're identifying DV as a top priority. DV touches everything. Health issues.
It does.
Innova's taking a lead. They've got SANE nurses in sexual assault. I could keep going on, but we need more. We need people to advocate, to legislate, and to support. Everybody can do something. I don't care if you're in a wheelchair or whatever. You can pick up the phone.
Right.
We need energy. We need everybody to say, we are going to end DV.
And I think together with the community, we can do that. I think that what we need to really do is, by us having this discussion, is bring the awareness to it and let people know, just because we're in Fairfax County, that it happens in Fairfax County too, and that there are other ways that we can deal with DV by just getting involved. If you're interested in getting involved, then just go to the courthouse, right?
That's right.
Just go on the website, fairfaxcounty.com.
And all you have to do. And all I'm going to close with my favorite words. There's a great line from a gospel song. It says, if I can help somebody in a word or in a listening ear, then my living won't be in vain. And that's all I'm asking from people. Don't live your life in vain.
It's awesome. So you can see why I just adore Miss Laure Harris. Even though she says she's retiring, she's not going far. She's definitely going to be missed. And she's contributing so much, but she's also saying, you know what, it's not just her, it's all of us. And I think that, we should all take a moment and think what we can do to help our mankind. We can volunteer somewhere and give a little more, even like you said, a listening ear. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, folks, until we meet again, think about what you can do to make your community better. Thanks for tuning in to Small Talk. I'm Sharon, your host. Have a wonderful day.